subscribe.
Pictured here is Gary Kray, Violet, Charlie Kray, and Susan Dwyer after Charlie's release from prison in 1975. When the twins' empire came crashing down in 1969, Charlie was inevitably dragged down with them. On the 8th of May, 1968, Ronnie, Reggie, and Charlie Kray were all arrested along with many other members of the firm for the murders of George Cornell, Jack McVitie, and Frank Mitchell, as well as other lesser charges. Age 41 and living at 40 Thornfield House, Rosefield Gardens, Poplar, Charlie was accused of helping the twins dispose of McVitie's body on limited evidence. He denied involvement and continued to do so for the rest of his life, but was jailed for 10 years regardless. Here is Charlie speaking about his brothers in 1976, 1 year after his release from prison.
Did you or did you not run a protection racket?
I didn't personally, and I know the twins didn't. They may have done. I'll tell you, can I explain it? One thing is this. If the twins, as they did, at a gambling club which was called a Spill in the East End, that's the slang name for it, and someone opened one a few miles away, they would automatically come to the twins and ask them to have a share in it, because this way they knew they would have no trouble. I mean, obviously...
Did they think they would have trouble if they didn't go to the twins?
Oh, no, I don't mean this in that way. I mean, they would have had trouble anyway from people. This is how they were in the East End in them days. I mean, if the person opened a spill, then you get trouble. I'm not saying to go into demanding money, but you get people in there having fights and as went on. And they went to the twins and asked them if they would have a share.
It's a subtle form of protection, isn't it?
It is really, yeah, but I mean, it's not the way, they don't go in demanding. I mean, I don't say, I'm not trying to make excuses here. If there was a spill opened the next street to them, then they would go and say, what are you doing? You mustn't open here. Well, you're one street away.
Today, after serving 7 years, Charlie's an East End celebrity. Around here, the name Kray still means something. He's regarded as some kind of folk hero.
What are you doing, Kim? Where are you going, darling? Where are you working? Where's your mum?
She's upstairs, yeah.
Where are you working?
To be fair to Charlie, he was never a violent man. He had no control over the twins in later life, and he tried with astonishing failure to steer them into legitimate business.
No, but why did they suddenly act like this when in fact they had all the money they could use, they've got smart clubs in the West End, and suddenly they go right back to the gutter again?
Well, your guess is as good as mine regarding that. I don't even know that. It just happened, the situation happened, and as it does in the East End. And
well, the police theory is that the whole organisation was based on terror, and that in order to keep the sort of terror going, acts of terror had to be committed. In other words, the myth of the Krays had to be kept going, and the only way to do that was to murder people.
Not really, because they had everything, as you said, after this. They had legitimate business, they had money coming in. This wasn't really so.
But the base was terror, the base was the gutter.
Well, in a circle, but outside that, I mean, you've seen, as I've seen, that people, I mean, you go down to any road in the East End and you meet people and they say, how's the twins? They've got all so much respect for them. It's because it was in that certain, you live in the jungle and you behave as you're in the jungle. That's all I can say.
Champagne Charlie is my name. Champagne Charlie is my name. Good for any game at night.
For the future, Charlie, with a name like Kray, will continue to face publicity. Indeed, as the manager of a pop group, he's courting it. But in reality, his life has changed. He's happy to drink in an East End pub, but he lives in a rented flat miles away in a country town.
The first main job, he did lots more, but that was the first really.
The irony of his new respectability is that his flat was burgled last weekend. But what happened to all the money Charlie and the twins made from their legitimate and their illegitimate businesses? Is any of it left? Is it possible that Charlie is minding money for the twins for when they come out of jail, that the firm is still in business?
This is rubbish. I mean, my mother and father live in a council masonette, and we respect them and love them. And if we had money, they wouldn't be sitting here, they'd be living somewhere nice.
What do you think of Nipper Reid, the policeman who more than anybody else had a hand in putting you and your brothers behind bars?
I don't really think about him. I mean, if it wasn't him, it'd have been somebody else. Personally, he was a bit enthusiastic, too enthusiastic, I think, regarding myself. But
well, he was enthusiastic, perhaps
generally, yeah.
to your detriment, but perhaps he was a very good guardian of law.
Of course. But I mean, I don't really regard, I don't think about him, because if it wasn't him, it could have been somebody else. So it doesn't really. He's retired now anyway, isn't he?
Everyone has. Have you?
I have retired. I never started.
When eventually, and presumably the day will come sooner or later, the twins are released, all three of you will be at liberty again. Will the firm start up again?
Oh no, that's rubbish. I mean, for instance, when a man comes out when he's serving a life in prison, he's released, he's forever on parole. He's on licence for the rest of his life. And if he makes one mistake, and one mistake only, he can go back to prison. So obviously they know this. And they won't ever make it. They just want to be left alone and keep to themselves and carry on. I mean, obviously they want to come out and speak with my mother and father. I mean, if they live in the country, wherever they live, they just want to carry on from that way. I mean, they've been offered a business when they come out by a good friend, and an honest man, I may add, not a criminal. And so they'll be okay, regarding a living anyway.
What about yourself? What are you intending to do with your life?
As I said before, I just want to be happy, and I'm with a girl now. We're getting married, I hope, in the new year. And I just want to carry on as I am with the show business. I've got a group, as you know. And just be happy and contented. That's all right. My mother is, and everybody else is. That's all I want to do.
And be an ordinary bloke?
I hope so, yes.
With a lot of memories?
I've got a lot of memories, yeah, many. Good and bad.
Do you regret the bad?
Yeah, well, I regret knowing or all the things in the past, not what I've done, but I just regret everything happened. I'd rather it been in a different perspective to it is now. I wanted my twins to be, I mean, they trained and very hard, and I thought they were going to be famous instead of infamous. That's what I preferred.
Charlie and Barbara Windsor. Until reading Charlie Kray's book, Me and My Brothers, I was never sure if all the rumors about him and actress Barbara Windsor were true or if it was just newspaper talk. Charlie cleared it up in the book, and now we know. Charlie explains, all the time I was married, I could not devote as much time to Barbara as I wanted. And although she never put any pressure on me, I knew I had to decide whether to leave home for her. If it had been a straight choice between Dolly and Barbara, I would have walked out of my whopping flat without a second thought. But Gary was still my main consideration. I would not do anything to hurt him. It was a hard decision to make because I loved Barbara and really cared for her. I had agonized over it for months, but in the end, I said we had to finish because I couldn't bear to put Gary through all the upset of a divorce. I told Barbara she needed a fellow who could take care of her, and I was so happy when she told me sometime later that she had met someone she loved and was getting married. His name, she said, was Ronnie Knight, and she was sure she was making the right decision. Charlie Kray once described himself as a human punchbag for his ferocious twin brothers Ronnie and Reggie, who thought, apparently, that he was a bit soft. Leonard Nipper Reed, the detective who had all three of them convicted in 1969, suspected otherwise. He described Charlie as the brains behind the Kray empire. He was well and truly part of the firm, said Reed. When the twins were in trouble, he was the first person they turned to. As ever with the Krays, it is hard to distinguish myth from reality. Perhaps only one thing is certain. Charlie, who died age 73 at St. Mary's Hospital, near Parkhurst Prison on the Isle of Wight on the 4th of April, 2000, owed nearly everything that came to him in life, both good and bad, whether he liked it or not, to the twins. He lived and died a Kray, born in East London, the son of Charles and Violet Kray. He lived most of his life in the long shadow cast by his brothers, who were 7 years younger. The three boys shared the same room at 178 Valence Road, Bethnal Green, and Charlie became, in effect, the twins' guardian during the Second World War when they were evacuated from London to Suffolk. An accomplished amateur boxer, Charlie represented the Navy as a welterweight against the Army and the Air Force, and encouraged the twins to join a local gym. It was something he later said he regretted. Charlie helped to train them and thought that the discipline that was being instilled would stand them in good stead in later life. What Ronnie and Reggie learned, however, were the tools of intimidation. In his book, Me and My Brothers, Charlie described how he remonstrated with the boys for knocking out two men who had insulted a friend of theirs. "I should have saved my breath," recalled Charlie. "They were not interested in what I had to say or what I felt." Ronnie and Reggie were 14 at the time. As the twins grew up, their reputation spread. In no time, they had developed from small-time gang leaders to running an extortion racket which they called the Firm. Charlie claimed to have been a peripheral figure in this organization. He did not mete out the beatings that the twins did, nor did he abandon them in disgust at their behavior. Instead, he became his brother's theatrical agent, responsible for booking acts at their bars and nightclubs, including the Double R, a good-looking and affable man. He appeared to enjoy the glitz, becoming a confidant of Jackie Collins, Judy Garland, the boxer Sonny Liston, and Christine Keeler. When the twins' empire came crashing down in 1969, Charlie was inevitably dragged down with them. Ronnie was convicted of shooting George Cornell at the Blind Beggar pub in Whitechapel. Reggie was found guilty of stabbing Jack the Hat McVitie. On limited evidence, Charlie was accused of helping the twins dispose of McVitie's body. He denied involvement and continued to do so for the rest of his life, but was jailed for 10 years. When he was released in 1975, he tried a variety of jobs, from selling cutlery and silverware at the Ideal Home exhibition to managing a pop group and property development. But he quickly realized that steady work would be hard to find. "I discovered that the minor irritations the name Kray had caused me before my sentence were now major problems," he said. The name Kray spelled no in giant capital letters, not only in London but throughout the whole country. Instead of fighting the notoriety, he decided to cash in on it, attending charity events and promotions, writing books, and agreeing to make a film of their life story. Friends of the Krays say the twins frowned on Charlie for this and were angry that he did not put more effort into securing their release. He was jailed at Woolwich Crown Court for 12 years for his role in plotting to bring cocaine worth £39 million into the country. He was convicted of offering to supply the drug to undercover police officers and also of supplying 2 kilos of the drug worth £63,500. He claimed he was set up by the police, and in many people's view he was. While serving his sentence in Parkhurst Prison on the Isle of Wight, Charlie suffered a stroke and was readmitted to hospital following a heart attack. Reggie was taken to see him, and they met for the first time since the funeral of Ronnie in 1995. Charlie's girlfriend, Diane Buffany, and 2 other friends were at his bedside when he died. His son Gary died in 1996. One former criminal, who knew the Krays well, said, "It's plain wrong to say Charlie was the brains behind the Kray empire. Reggie was. Charlie wasn't like the twins, whatever others say. He was a gentleman. It's true that he reaped some benefits from being their brother, but he also paid a very heavy price." Charlie's funeral was held at St. Matthew's Church, Bethnal Green on the 19th of April, 2000. He is buried at Chingford Mount Cemetery next to the rest of his family.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please join our Facebook group. It's called Krays Crime Lords of London. We're a friendly, moderated group with over 1,000 Kray and other celebrated gangster videos available for view. There's also thousands of images in the photos sections. The link for the group is in the YouTube description section. I hope we see you there soon.
Leave a like and subscribe.